This entitled parent is about to wreak havoc on this family for one stupid petty reason. But this family aren't going to take it lying down. They've got a plan that will make sure that this entitled parent ends up behind bars. Happy birthday, today's your birthday, and on with the revamped show. So, some backstory. I live in a suburban area. I'm by no means rich, I'm at best lower middle class, and I've been living in the house I'm in for almost 11 years now. We were lucky we got it off foreclosure back in 2009, when I was a teenager, so we finally got to move out of the crappy trailer home I grew up in. I've seen some neighbors come and go since, including one old lady who was the predecessor of the Karen. She was mean and seemed to have it out for me, sometimes calling the police for noise complaints from the house. However, I never truly got in trouble since my neighbors always backed me up. The most they were scared of was my pit bull, but my neighbors know her well. She's partially blind and totally deaf, but she can still do some tricks because she can read lips. She's a smart dog. She's also naturally very protective of us, so while she'll bark at anyone who comes near us, she'll never harm a soul. She even got out a few times and just cuddled with some of our old neighbors, even though people keep insisting she was aggressive because pit bulls are naturally aggressive, and so on and so forth. I heard it plenty of times already, but she's never going away until she goes from old age. Around mid-July this year, it turns out the old neighbor was completely incapable of fending for herself anymore, due to her age, and she was put in a retirement home a few miles down where we live. The house was in her kids' names, but they decided to put it on the market instead. It was vacant for several weeks until early mid-August. She came. The Karen. Cue intense piano solo, thunder cracking, and wicked witches laughing. I don't know how long she was scouting the house for, but around early mid-August she officially moved in. Day one she goes around the neighborhood. Seemed normal, until she came to our door. Instead of greeting us, she began to make demands of us, insisting we remove our tree and the plants in front of our lawn since they'll blow leaves on my lawn, and my lawn has to be maintained, and you and your plants are going to hurt it in the long run. Note, she was literally the street away from us, a total of 8 houses apart, on the other side of the street. We told her no, and that she'll be fine. But for the next 10 or so minutes she kept pushing it, until finally my stepmother slammed the door on her. Apparently, later on from what I learned, she made similar demands to other neighbors, and some demanding that they either move out entirely because they'll scare her son with their appearance, and some threatening to call the cops. I still don't get her reasoning behind this, but whatever. Day 2, I'm off to work around 7 in the morning. When I begin to unlock the car, Karen saw me and ran across to me, seemingly fuming.
You stop right there! You have a pit bull in that house?
Yeah, but don't worry, she's a total teddy bear. She's just…
No! I demand you get rid of that hellspawn now! Pit bulls are the lapdog of the devil, and all they're good for is killing. They're super aggressive, and I bet that she's been dreaming of biting your head off many times already. And as it stands, she's a threat to my son and the neighborhood.
Me, taken aback, but after a few moments, ma'am, as I said, she's a teddy bear. I know you're scared. Pit bulls have a bad reputation, but I swear she's been trained well, and she wouldn't hurt a fly. I've been living with her my whole life, and not once did I see her attack a soul. I swear. You and everyone else is safe.
Bullcrap, you're lying! If you don't get her impounded or put down today, I'm calling the freaking cops on you, saying you and that devil dog assaulted me. Who are they gonna believe? Someone like me or a low-life piece of crap like you?
I was very much ticked at this lady, so I just got in my car and began to drive off. She slammed her fist on the roof of my car several times, but eventually, I got to work. Luckily, she didn't leave a dent. When I came back home around 5:30 that afternoon, there were 2 police cars near my house, and Karen standing there, giving me a crap-eating grin and giving me the middle finger. I got out, and the moment I went inside, I see my dog sitting on the chair, with 2 policemen sitting on the couch, and my mum and stepmom in the living room. From what I got, my dog was trying to protect my mum and stepmom once the police came in, but luckily my stepmom managed to calm the dog down, and things were well. She even came and licked one of them. After talking to them for a while, they decided to drop the case then and there, but keep an eye out for both my dog and Karen. She got off without any trouble. I don't think even a warning. A few weeks later, she begins the same argument about getting rid of my dog, and once again threatened to call the cops. She never did, but fast forward to Halloween. My uncle was with us. Same with his 3 daughters, and I helped take care of them. 3 10-year-olds hyped up on sugar as heck, especially on a holiday. My uncle was on the front lawn, sitting in the trunk of his truck, handing out candy and other stuff to any kids who came his way. An hour and a half in, the cops come again and confront my uncle in the front lawn. My stepmom goes out to figure out the problem. Apparently, someone called the police on my uncle, saying he was doing something inappropriate with minors and hitting on any female who came his way. We were shocked and ticked. My uncle is nothing like what they're saying. We eventually figured out who called the cops. Lo and behold, it's Karen. We go to her house and both me, my uncle, and stepmom are fuming. She opens the door, and instead of trying to talk it out, like a normal person, she played the victim, insisting she and her son saw my uncle in the act. We didn't buy it, plus our neighbors caught wind of it and soon defended my uncle, saying he was just sitting in his truck, handing out candy, and nothing more. Karen kept insisting her son was in danger of my uncle, and refused to talk with us anymore. She slammed the door in our face, and the next morning, she puts a letter on our front door, simply calling us problematic for her son and neighborhood as a whole. And next time she has to report us, she's going to make darn sure she's going to ruin our lives forever. Yes, I'm dead serious. I'm not sure how I got the ire of this woman, other than having a fluff ball dog. The next day she does it again and threatens to call the cops on us if we do not get rid of my dog. Then came the incident that nearly ruined my life. I was at work in early November, and I was doing my normal thing out of the shop when she came in, and asked for me specifically. My boss figured that we knew each other, oh trust me we did, and brought me over. She wanted me to get a part for her, and my first thought was, okay, but you could have literally asked anyone else. But I complied and did it anyway, figuring it was going to be only a minute of being near this demon. What she wanted was on the top shelf, and when I got it, she got angry, saying,
"Why did you touch me?"
I just looked confused. I just said, "Sorry, I'm trying to get your thing. Sorry if I bumped into you." And got it. She looked like she wanted to kill me and walked away. A few hours later, I'm called in, and apparently she filed a sexual harassment claim against me, saying I touched her butt and called her dirty names. And when I told them to check the cameras to where we were, they found out there was no contact whatsoever. But the police were there, so I asked, "She's been harassing me and my family for months. Is there anything I can do?" Which they just told me, "Unless you have proof, we cannot do anything. No proof, no charges." I was furious when I drove home for the day and decided to talk to a friend of mine who knew law much better than me. He recommended to record her in the act and that my state was a one-party consent state, so I figured next time she did her trick, I'd have her. Well, turns out I never had to do anything. Weird, I know. A few days after Thanksgiving, I walked out of my house to go to work and I saw a police car across the street and Karen in the back of the car in handcuffs. Well, I couldn't see it exactly, but I figured she was. And then I saw her son. Her son looked like he was near death. Bruises everywhere. I froze, but one of my neighbors, let's call him Mark, brought me back down to earth and told me what happened. Apparently she started something with him earlier that day, and she threatened him and his entire family. He called the cops and that was it. Later on, I figured out she was charged. I don't know how long she's going to serve, but I don't care. I'm just glad she's gone. The house is vacant now and it probably will be for a long time. I just hope if the house is able to be saved, the next one to move in will be less of a jerk as Karen. Isn't it completely ironic that Karen was complaining to everyone that somehow everything was going to endanger her and her family? And yet who was the biggest threat this whole time? Yep, that's right, it was Karen. Maybe if she was the one who was blind and deaf instead of the pit bull, then everyone else around her would be a lot safer. So a bit of background. I am new law enforcement officer at my agency and it's my first month out on my own. It was near the end of my 12-hour shift and it was a busy day. lots of reports and calls. So my dispatch sends out a call to a local fast food Mexican place about a woman who was calling to have a cop show up. It wasn't in my area, but I was the closest unit, so I picked it up. Boy did I regret it. I arrive on scene and I met everyone involved. EM, entitled mum, IK, innocent kid who looks in her mid-teens, and M, manager. EM and DK were waiting in the dining area with manager by the counter. Hello ma'am, I'm OP, and you called to speak to a law enforcement? EM cuts me off.
About time you show up. I demand that you arrest the manager of this place.
I was very confused. Okay, what did he do to you?
He tried to poison my daughter and he won't give me a refund.
How did he try to poison your daughter?
We are vegans and this man put meat in her food, and when I demanded a refund, he refused. I want him arrested now.
So I go to the manager and start to speak to him about what happened. So what happened today?
EM comes in and orders a meal and told me yes, EM's daughter got the wrong meal. EM goes ballistic and approaches the counter and starts counseling out my employees and then throws the food on the wall. When I offered to replace the meal, she called me a insert racial slur and called you guys.
I look over the manager's shoulder and there is food on the wall from where she threw it. Now the problem is, I cannot make the restaurant give her money back, and this is a civil issue, so I have no legal authority on the matter. So I go back to my patrol car. I get the corporate number for the restaurant. I then go talk to EM, who was talking to IK about how mummy is going to take care of everything. Ma'am, here is the number to the corporate office. As this is a civil matter, I have no legal authority to force a private business to do anything. And the manager did not commit any crime.
What? Did your simply high school educated brain not hear me? He tried to poison my daughter. Arrest him.
I had to take a step back because at this point, she was screaming in my face. IK kid buries her head in her arms as she was bright red. Ma'am, he mistakenly gave you the wrong order. Attempt to fix it and you refused to accept it. Your dietary preference was violated, but there was no attempt to poison your daughter.
I want to speak to your supervisor.
At this point, put out on the radio for my supervisor, but they are busy with shift change. I look at the manager who walked up to me with that "I am tired of this lady" crap look on his face.
I would very much like this lady to leave.
I can trespass her if you like. The manager smiles and says yes. My supervisor arrives on scene a little while later, and I explained what was happening and what the manager wanted. So my supervisor walks to EM and speaks to her. He comes back over to me, holding back laughter. He told me that EM said that I was unprofessional, cussed at her and called her a vegan bee, and asked for my information so that she can file a formal complaint against me. I guess EM didn't realize the big black box in the center of my uniform was a body camera, and my supervisor knew me from our time together in the military, so he knew she was full of it. So the manager filled out the paperwork to have her trespassed from the property. My supervisor let me tell her, "Ma'am, as I said before, this is a civil matter, but you have been trespassed from this property and you must leave or you'll be subject to arrest."
I'm a tax-paying citizen of this county. That stupid insert racial slur is probably an illegal. You should be arresting him. I'm going to have your badge for this.
Now what happens next is what makes this story crazy. IK, who has been silent the whole time, stands up and speaks.
Mum, cut your crap. You eat meat and we all know it. Just stop it. You're making it way worse than what it needs to be.
All of us are in complete disbelief at what IK said, and EM turns bright red and walks out of the restaurant, IK following her. The restaurant manager thanks us and I finally get to go home, after surviving my first encounter with a Karen. You know, I have to wonder how many vegans who say they're vegan actually end up being like this person here. They use it to have some sort of power or to morally stand over other people. But I wonder how many of them actually, secretly, still eat meat. But what are your thoughts? How many people do you know who are vegan, are simply doing it because it's trendy, or because they want to be judgy and be morally superior to those around them? I know there are plenty of vegans who are really chill about it and they don't really care what you eat, but the stereotype is there for a reason. Submit your story to be read on the channel at VoiceyHereStories@gmail.com and join our Voicey veteran community at r/VoiceyHere. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode. Alright Voicey veterans, I'll see you in the next one.